Okay, do we tell A2 might want to think for a second? Definitely could have taken a bit more time to think that through, but fortunately with the layout of the floor, I was feeling comfortable enough to take a couple steps and react as we went. Maybe a bit closer than it should have been, especially when I keep talking about how much I want to keep this character alive. You wouldn't believe it, maybe, from the way that I play them sometimes, but hey, all's well that ends well. And it saves us one more telly for the future, because that's definitely one of my favorite escape abilities. It's not quite as mindless as something like Blink. Blink is a one-button trick to save in your entire run, except for the earlier situation that we saw, of course, where we were constricted out of it. Silly me. But teleport still does absolute wonders a lot of the time, in terms of just getting you out and away, completely out of sight, out of mind, or, you know, dropping you right into the middle of a worse vault. But hey, sometimes you're rolling the dice, right? It's the whole reason we play these games. Geez, an artifact short sword. Do I have too many weapons starting to add up and collect in our inventory? Maybe, but it could be an incredible stat stick. Just something we could hold in our offhand, especially if we ever got into spellcasting. We actually have a surprising amount of intelligence, considering the fact that we've contributed absolutely no points into this, spent none of our childhood reading books or anything like that. We were quite the, I'm not going to say dumb halfling, but maybe not quite so intellectual. Because intellectual, instead of just being a straight, you know, are you smart or not, does have a bit more nuance to it for sure. I guess book smart might be the way that most people would have referred to that, instead of doing a very, like, subtle distinction. Make it a bit more obvious to everyone listening. But enough of putting down a Voith. He's a capable halfling who is very street smart, or dungeon smart, as it were. Knows these caves like the back of his hand. Largely due to spending an entire lifetime of studying his ancestors' own escapades after their unfortunate demise. He was convinced that he would be the difference. He'd be the one fling to make a change in the world, be the change he wants to see and all that. Speaking of which, aren't we due for a shaft? Hey, maybe actually bringing it up is a good thing. Might throw us some reverse karma in that way, because you're not wrong. I feel like it's been far too long. Is it weird to say that I miss them? Because I do. That little bit of panic, that skip of a beat in your heart. Nothing quite does that like a shaft, does it? Okay, so starting to collect a decent following here. This is looking like a wide open floor. Absolutely no cover to speak of, so let's maybe dip down a couple different stairways. See if we can't find anything useful. Okie dokie. Left a sharpshooter behind, which is never something you want to do. If we'd been coming up those stairs at any worse of a condition, might have found ourselves in a bit of a tricky spot, but I mean, I guess I'll take it. We weren't quite so unfortunate today. There we go. This is a much better starting point at the very least here. Not quite a wide open chamber filled with enemies. A bit more controlled, concise here. Sharpshooters out the wazoo, though. One of the few things that is still freaking me out, we don't have the greatest dodge or evasion chances here, and for once we actually have a decent willpower score, so I'd almost prefer to see like a whole bunch of mages instead, but as long as it's nothing we can't handle, I'll take it. And definitely, slowly but surely, getting all the gold in the world. Okay, what is with this seed? This is by far the most shop-heavy run that I've played, at least in a long time, if not ever. And oh my gosh, the Zealot's Sword. Oh, I wish I could afford you, friend, even if just to pay homage to the very first fling. Maybe second or third. There might be a couple in there that didn't get their names written in the history book because they died a little too early. But the Zealot's Blade fling definitely almost made their way through the dungeon in one piece. Would be nice to pay some type of token service at the very least to our old friend there. But I also just realized I didn't even look in the scroll shop. Popped it up, just zipped over it with my eyes without actually reading a single word. But Scrolls of Fear, some Scrolls of Teleportation, if we ever start running low on those, that's definitely nice. Same with the magic mapping, might come in handy for sure. Okie dokie. Let's keep her moving here. Definitely happy with what's shown up in our shops. These ones weren't quite as killer as some of the orc shops that we came across, but definitely no big complaints here. I'm definitely, when I first started playing with Gozag, I found myself using the call shop ability all the time because, again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a gamble fiend on the inside, or at least my soul is. So I'm always hoping to call a shop in with Gozag and, you know, just draw the absolute nuts and get a ridiculous artifact or something like that. But I have since learned through mostly experience that it's not the best use of our gold. In general, we'd prefer to instead use like potion petitions, and bribe branch is something that I never gave quite enough credence to. It's an absolutely incredible skill that saves us so much damage in the late game, especially like Zot becomes almost a cakewalk relative to the dangers it usually poses at the very least. So we want to save up our money for the end game at the very least. Hello, Azul. Shouldn't have spent a turn tabbing with you in sight. That's never great. 6% chance to sleep. Not great odds, but still something to maybe be cognizant of. In general, the main danger here is that high health, 140, high evasion as well. Things could get a wee bit nasty. So I'm going to start running away while Azul is distracted by our gold there. Another little advantage that we can eke out of our main man Gozag here, as well as the fact that all of the Naga are too slow to keep up. So that's nice. Don't have to worry quite as much about those bad boys. Then, looking over, all of our evocables are up and kicking. Should probably take this fight. Or not necessarily should, but can, at the very least. Let's maybe switch over to our sling, get some use of this in for the approaching armies here. Again, that gold distraction did wonders for even splitting up the enemies who did happen to be of similar speed, so I'm very much happy with that. And is that everyone who came with? Azul? Paging Azul, please come to the south of Snake Pit 3. Maybe? No? Where are you, son of a gun? I'm ready for you. Now that we've cleared out the ads here. 1v1 mid. Come on. Perfect. And I'm just going to use the Phantom Mirror. Almost no reason not to. Adds another opportunity for distraction here. And, oh, do you know what? Let's get out of the water. There's no reason I should be stumbling around in the shallow water like a fool. And here we go. 3-on-1. Come on, folks. We can do it. Looking good. And there we go. We got the distraction effect. I'm tempted to switch over to the Spriggan Blade. Bad timing on that. I mean, I should have known the distraction was probably mostly due to my spectral weapon there, but Halfling can dream, can't they? I just wanted one sweet, sweet stab. But there we go. No problems whatsoever on a unique that can definitely be scary in their own right quite often. It's definitely nice having the solid evocation skill at this point. Does absolute wonders with that mirror. And okie dokie. What else can we clean up a little bit? Brilliance potions can go for now, unless we end up diverting into spellcasting in the future. Definitely a possibility, but not necessarily guaranteed. Ring of Dexterity, nix that. And we'll just immediately identify the potion as well. Finally getting our potion of cancellation, which is actually pretty solid in its own right. You know what? Potion of magic can hit the ground there. Perfect. And again, I shouldn't just be waiting turns, doing absolutely nothing when we have a sling in our belt here, or on our belt as it were. Always better to switch over to that. Also, a bit of a cool interaction with the spectral blade that I just noticed. It does seem like if we actively switch off of our spectral blade at the perfect moment, it does give us like a scroll of fog effect, which is kind of cool. Also, what is up with you, Snake Pit 3? Because now this is back to being something exceptionally scary. Mara is never a whole lot of fun. We at least have extremely good RF of our own. 2 ticks, not too bad. Phantom Mirror is still inert, so I'll tell you what. I'm outie. Let's not worry about that. Mara is someone, or one of the uniques that will give me enough pause to maybe head to another branch for a bit, test the waters there. Can always come back, especially with some of our evocables ready and rearing to go. And in fact, I think we'll do so. No huge rush to get each of these runes. As long as we're making progress somewhere in the game, we don't need to bash our face into that wall until we're bloody, you know? So let's switch over, maybe take a peek into our shoals. See how things are hanging out around these parts. This is another opportunity to get a whole lot of ammo for our slings. Here I am waiting instead of firing because I didn't want to deal with the pain of accidentally shooting shots into the deep water. And then I immediately shot shots off. I don't think any hit deep water at least, but geez Louise. Brain says one thing, body does another. Ain't that just the thing? But okay, Windrake has to go immediately here. That's a very scary enemy because they will blow us away from the stairs if we do have to go into full retreat mode here, which is always something to keep in mind. Where are all of you at? There we go. Let's get a few stabs in, and as long as the Impaler is taken out, I'm a little less concerned about these others here. And we have decent enough defensive capabilities that I'm not absolutely crapping my pants at the sight of each and every enemy, which is awesome. You know, a nice change of pace from how some of my runs go. There we go, gaining next levels in armor and stealth at the same time. In fact, both of them hit our caps at exactly the same time. That's wild. Speaking of interesting probabilities, but let's now start to turn on our evocations again, get that training up to the next cap level that we put it at. And I'm just thinking if there's anything else that we might want to change about our skilling. Could do a bit more defensive work here. Those last few points and shields are definitely using a whole lot of EXP, probably not for a whole lot of gain, but at the end of the day, I do like to at least get to the point where we're not dealing with penalties that aren't quite necessary for us to be dealing with, as it were. Jeez Louise, Windrakes scare the crap out of me. Anything that makes you move in this game is a whole nother added layer of difficulty. Force lances, those Windrakes, never know when they might really bite you in the butt. And I don't just say that because I've had a very promising run end due to walking down to, I think, like a Shoals 3 floor, getting blown off the stairs, and then cascading into a series of nightmare scenarios. Not today, though. Right, game? You wouldn't do that to me. Not after all our luck that we've had. No way. Hopefully not at the very least, as we keep going. Every monster in the vault getting distracted by the gold that's lying at our feet out here, which is fantastic. And you know, the game really wants to show off the Windrakes and their capabilities. Just Windrake after Windrake here. Though I will say, 3 throwing nets, pretty awesome. I'm going to try my best to use those with our Spriggan's Blade to the utmost efficacy. And just about through our Shoals 1. Another Windrake. What the heck, game? I never know, of course, if it's a slight change of spawns from what I'm used to, having played most of my recent games in 0.25, right before 0.26 came out. Let's hop around here. Fortunately, we're not in a rough spot for taking care of all those little buddies, because that was kind of the nightmare situation where the merfolk is on the other side of deep water like that, just poking and prodding as we walk. Not what you want to see. But an artifact scale mill. That, on the other hand, is what you want to see. Snapping turtles galore as well, which isn't great for stair dancing specifically. And really everything here is bad for stair dancing, as they all have reach capabilities. Fantastic. I'm also definitely thanking our lucky stars that we have good willpower before we came into Shoals here. So often one of the main issues you have is being mesmerized. What are the odds on that? 6%. Fantastic. Well, let's hope that's not the difference maker, shall we? I'm going to switch over, oh geez, to the Impaler, but unfortunately, Kirk shows up. Maybe changes things a wee bit here. Again, we're fortunately well off in the willpower department, which is the main defensive component you want when going up against Kirk. Or Karake? Not actually sure. Weaver of Myths, I guess, to keep it simple. But we're not going to be porculated or slowed, which is good. Right, game? You wouldn't do that to us. 3% chance. You wouldn't have the heart to throw us away like that. The thing I'm looking at now, or trying to weigh out, is if I can take out this Siren in some fashion here. Wand of Acid, maybe. Lightning Rod, actually. Probably better. I'm going to see how it does, because if we're able to just get rid of this Mesmerize in one fell swoop here, then I will just retreat normally. But the other thing that I'm keeping in mind, of course, is that we can use those teleport scrolls to get out of the Mesmerize situation if things really start to take a downwards turn. And, you know, for our level up here, we can increase our attribute. Strength, Dex, they're both pretty solid for us. I think I'm going to keep going Strength, just try and get our total damage numbers kicking here. And then I'm going to take a small risk. Oh, geez Louise. Forgot that the Harpy was that fast. Dang it. I was hoping to take some of these merfolk upstairs with us, and there we go. That's much better. I don't want to kill this pig, though. But I think I'm going to have to. How scary are you? Not very. Spectral Blade is going to kill it, though, isn't it? Please don't. Please don't. I don't like to kill innocents. I'm trying my best to keep the hog alive, because if we're able to kill Kirk first, then we do rescue them. And in fact, before I get too far from these stairs here, I should maybe take a quick peek. See if we might just want to head down and fight Kirk. Yeah, it's only one other merfolk and her. How much am I willing to risk for my own weird self-inflicted rules? I try and save all the souls I can, though, and if we can take her out first, we can free these pigs from their bindment. So in the myth, that is Cersei, and the kids learn to pronounce Cersei, but in Greek it would have been Kerki. Ah. And you'll notice that I, in fact, did pronounce that Cersei to start out, but that's good to know. Kirky. I do try my best to pronounce each and everyone's name correctly, even characters out of myth and video games, so I'll try my best to remember that one for the future here. And, a fancy way that we could try and do this with my ideals in place is we could use a fear scroll. The hogs would run away, keeping themselves safe, which is the important part here. I know, a bit of a waste of a fear scroll, but bear with me here. Saving souls, more important than anything, of course. Life before death and all of that. Just started reading Way of Kings recently. Amazing book, by the way. That's what that line comes from, or at least the one that comes to mind here. Maybe let's just try and take her out, hey? Am I overthinking this? Spectral weapon, if you touch a single hog, I'm gonna be so upset. Hey, there we go. Breathe them all. Yeah, it's Cherokee, and it's, oh geez, and Pickle? Cherokee and Pickle are the two uniques in this game that I have special rules for, because it's very important to me that we don't injure innocents. I know I've repeated that in various different phrasings like 7 times in the last few minutes, but it's important, you know? It's crucial information. So, let us open up our inventory. I'm even going to use a identify scroll in this armor, which, holy cow, would you look at that? Happens to have the drain thing on it. So that was lucky there. I mostly was just trying to save inventory space, get rid of some of these identify scrolls, since at this stage we probably won't need to hold on to too many of them. Unfortunately, I don't think this armor interests me much otherwise, not quite as good as our current plate mail that I'm absolutely loving. So there we have it. Let's keep her moving here. Maybe should have drawn these buddies back to us a little bit. Made sure we're not fighting too much in the open waters here. Never face a merfolk on the open seas. That's what Waff's Poppy always taught him. Sea snake. Perfect. But out of that in one piece, even with our soul intact, let's keep it going. Kind of in the shallows here, not quite open sea, but at risk of the tides washing us away. No concerns, I guess, and holy cow. S-branches really do love their uniques, don't they? Let's see here. Donald, at this stage in the game, how you looking? Not too bad. I'm sorry to say, Donald, you're not quite the threat that you have been in the past here. 2 of us, my Spectral Blade and I, just absolutely wailing on poor Donald here. Love to see it. The nice part about uniques is they are a pretty huge chunk of experience, which is very nice when we're trying to recharge all of our evocable items here. And in that regard, sorry, I'm suspiciously looking here because a dream sheep in this economy, but no, really, a dream sheep in Shoals 2 generally means only one thing, and that's a Polyphemus pal around the corner here. Which, do I want to fight Polyphemus now? I think we are capable of fighting Polyphemus. The main question there being, do we wish to save them as a source of experience? The way that I'm weighing this out in my head is essentially, do I think that I'll have to use a Phantom Mirror to fight a unique? If not, I might want to go fight Mara first, using all of our evocables, or all the evocables at our disposal. Also might not be a Polyphemus though, might just be a Cyclops. Okay, maybe I was reading too far into it. Anytime I see a pack of anything down here, I get concerned that the big boy himself is going to show up. But I guess not today. No Catoplebis. That's the main signifying factor, I guess, is that usually it would be Dream Sheep, Yaks, and a Catoplebis or 2, all thrown into the mix together. Game. How are you gonna do me like that? Prove me wrong just in time for me to be proven wrong in the opposite direction? Come on. But okay, Polyphemus basically killing himself. You keep doing that, bud. You're doing fantastic. Just keep throwing those rocks at me, deflecting them right back at you. Do have to be cautious of the Catoplebis. We do have some open water to traverse on our way back. Okay, perfect timing on the retreat there. Just in time to get out of the calcifying fog, as it were. And, dang, Polyphemus is almost out of it, but the whole pack here is usually the area of concern. Trying to think of what I can get away with here. Maybe a switch over. Okay, I was going to switch over to our Ring of Flight, but I just noticed now that we do have 1 Potion of Flight on us. So that's a much quicker and safer way to achieve the same results. And let's try and drag some of these buddies out this way. Please and thank you. If everyone could just follow me, please. Perfect. And then here's where I make my stand. No, let's... Jeez, turn the corner. Where? Oh, he threw it. Son of a gun. I was so confused by the Catoplebis appearing beside us, but gotta keep in mind, Polyphemus will throw a friend under the bus and towards their enemies, whichever works best. But there we go. Finally narrowed it down to the odds we could like. We would only like to fight a Catoplebis or a Polyphemus at a time, please and thank you. Perfect. And there we go, not too shabby. Did end up throwing out our previous considerations of do we want to save Polyphemus for the experience, but that is all well and good. Just to get out in one piece. Also, okay, let's keep trying to heal up and then the things behind the glass are distracting us. Let's just pop out of here, shall we? Just need to check my phone real quick too. Perfect. No emergencies. That's always a good sign. Okie dokie. Back up to full health. Let's come face these buddies once more. Face the music, as it were. Hopefully done with the uniques on this level. Shoals 2 does seem to always be my floor of uniques, but I am happy to just deal with a few and be able to deal with them on top of that, because that's not always the case. I've retreated from many a Shoals 2 as well, of course. And let's just keep it moving. I'm hoping the rest of the floor is, if not a complete cakewalk, at least not as risky of a proposition. Also up to 387 sling bullets. It's not something you see every game for sure, even every game with Shoals. I often find myself facing off against more satyrs with rocks than I do with slings. So that is pretty incredible. I could probably even toss away my stones, make some room in our inventory. 387 ammunition should get us through the rest of the game, especially considering the fact that we aren't consistently using our sling. Which does make me think, have I left any magical slings around? Bustabalis. That's just as good as a magical sling. Let's drop this hunting sling, switch over to that bad boy, don't mind if I do, and we'll even set a target on that and focus it, because that won't take too much experience at all to get to that stage, and that's a nice little bonus. Heck yeah, bud. See how she goes. I do love me the amulets of, or I guess any reflection ego in this game. Probably one of the more satisfying things to witness. Holy cow. The Isle of Giants, hey? I thought that was a myth. Well, let's maybe head towards the stairs here. Somewhere where we can retreat if things get sour or go south. Also, I'd like to kill these merfolk before they use up all of their nets, because again, that's something that will do wonders for us. Jeez Louise. So many Cyclops, holy cow. Hello, friends. Hello, hello. Welcome to the party. Yes, please come on in, come on in. Yeah, step up. Don't be shy. Step on up. We're here for one day and one day only in Shoals 3. Okie dokie. Not too bad. Could have been a nightmare. Without a reflection ego there, and good evasion on top of that, could have been an absolutely different story. But I guess we'll just collect all of the gold here. Finally we're finally in a very decent spot in terms of our overall gold totals here. Ready to bribe if things get desperate enough, even though I'm hoping to save most of the bribing for the latter parts of the game here. Not too bad. Hey, Ninth Settler, thank you so much for the raid. Holy cow. Hope your tournament play is going well so far. Haven't had the chance to try out too much myself, but I have heard that you've been working the grind there recently. So I hope that your games have been well and your fortune has been great. And of course, welcome raiders as well. My name is Torinski. We largely play DCSS here, but we definitely also fit in our fair share of other games. But every Sunday, we're on the grind here trying to get the Great Player achievement for myself for the first time. I've played the game quite a bit over the years, but never gone through the work of actually playing with each and every species. So why not do that starting today? Or not today, rather, but starting on this series. But I have been thinking recently about some fun things we could do with the raid. And one of the things that came to mind is I would like to potentially share some random stories with you all to celebrate the special occasion. So I think I'll reach into my brain here and pull out, yeah, we'll go with that one. So my family's from northern Canada, and I have a fair share of wild animal stories, but today I'm actually going to tell you all the story of two friends of my family. We'll call them Sophie and Jack. And Sophie and Jack were together for a few years, Jack being from Whitehorse up in the Yukon here in Canada, and Sophie being from down south, originally from Europe actually, but visiting for one of the first times. And they decided to go out hiking together out in the mountains because that's something that a lot of the folks up there do in spades, and Jack himself is an avid hunter, so has done quite a few mountain treks in his day. So they went out on a nice hike through the valleys of the country surrounding Whitehorse, which is the capital city of the province, or of the territory. And one day when they were walking through the woods, they came across a bear just directly 5 feet from them, popping up from behind a berry bush that it had been snacking on. And bears, you know, they're scary things for sure, don't get me wrong, but living in northern Canada, you have a certain amount of experience with bears. It's a important part of life, and you're going to run into them almost guaranteed, especially if you are an avid hiker and hunter. So, you know, Jack, not too afraid yet, just immediately starts going into the usual steps you take, which is to get up really big, spread your arms, start yelling, making a lot of noise. Bears, even something like a grizzly bear, as long as it's not in its dangerous parts of the season where it's really feeling violent and wanting to prove a point, are quite scared of humans. So you're very likely to just separate ways and have no problem. But it looked like this bear wasn't quite having any of it. Very curious, not aggressive, mind you, but just slowly but surely walking up. And this was a grizzly bear, mind you. Still fairly young, not up to full size, and definitely old enough to not be in its violent adolescent years as well. But that is just to say that it was looking very curious, so it kept walking towards them. So Jack did the next best thing, which is still distracting it, you know, staying big, making a lot of noise. He turned to Sophie and said, okay, just quietly and slowly back away and keep backing up. I'm going to distract the bear for a bit. I want you to just get out of here, get up to a high point as soon as you can, out of sight, out of mind. So Sophie did just that, slowly backing away as Jack started to take off his backpack and place objects on the ground. Because the thing is, bears, very curious animals. very likely that they will just investigate whatever you place down on the ground and ignore you completely. So that was what he's hoping, but the bear got up to the rope, sniffed it, kept walking forward towards him. Got up to his lunch that he had brought along with, something that should be enticing to any bear, sniffed it, not interested, kept walking towards. As Jack is, now slowly backing up as well, while still trying to maintain the size, but slowly but surely backing up, trying to maintain distance as much as possible. And it's at this point that Jack realizes that his gun was attached to his backpack that he had just laid down 2 feet from him. So it would have been a last resort. You don't want to shoot a bear unless you're planning for it and prepared, because you might just make it angry, in which case you're going to be in a rougher situation than you were to start out. So, wincing a bit, he just keeps backing up. There's no recovering it now. Just hope that everything goes all right. But he's running out of stuff to drop. His scarf is on the ground. His bag is completely emptied and scattered throughout the ground, trail in front of him. The bear just doing little cursory investigations, but not sticking to anything. And this is where we'll leave Jack for a moment, because Sophie has managed to back away completely from the situation. As soon as she's out of sight, she sprints. She runs up the hills because they're in a nice little valley. So she pops her up onto the rocky hillside there, and she looks down into the valley, and she just barely manages to catch a glimpse between the trees of Jack, now almost naked, almost wearing nothing on him, still just slowly backing away from the bear, and the bear's not stopping. Sophie's starting to panic. She has less experience with bears, but knows that usually like bear poppers are what people use. Something that makes a whole lot of noise. It's essentially just a firecracker in a can. So she thinks, what can I do? How can I help? And the thing about Sophie is she's a trained opera singer. Extremely talented, can hit the right frequencies to shatter glass. And so, without thinking, she does the only thing she can, which is to sing, and blares out across the valley, echoing through the hills, an ear-shattering, glass-destroying note. And all of a sudden, Jack, who's starting to panic, go into sheer panic, sees the bear rear up, look, and sprint the opposite direction. And that is how Jack and Sophie survived their bear encounter, through the power of opera singing. And it sounds like a fairy tale, but definitely something that I know happened with these two, because they're an absolutely wild pair with many stories that would probably even put that one to shame. But that is the story of the opera singer and the bear. A little bit slow to go through. Should have probably practiced that one in the mirror before bringing it out into the public eye here. But I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, definitely one that I will always keep with me and remember. An absolute wild ride. Thanks, Ninth Settler. Definitely, yeah, one of my favorites. And once in a lifetime opportunity too. It's never the kind of situation that you want to put yourself in or want to be in ever again. But yeah, no, I have a decent number of bear stories, even personal bear stories, just from my my years up north. They're definitely wild animals in every definition of the word. Man, now I just can't stop thinking about stories. Need to save some of those for future raids, you know? But I guess in terms of what's going on in the game here, absolutely nothing to be concerned about for the most part, which is a rarity for us. Still taking some bad damage or potential damage turns through all the fire here, but fortunately our reflection amulet does seem to be doing a fairly decent job of keeping us safe. There we go. Now we're starting to get ourselves into a bad situation again. Let's slow down, start thinking about the game again, shall we? So, take a quick look at just how much potential damage we're dealing with. We are at least out of the danger zone for all of these reach weapons, but many javelins could still come our way, and all it takes is 1 or 2 bad rolls for that to really sour. So yeah, I probably shouldn't have let myself get into this situation, but now that we are, I'm feeling like one quick solution to this, potentially, is a fear scroll. Blinking will get us out of this situation. We could blink out to here and then use a teleport afterwards to potentially save ourselves some trouble. But most of these bad boys do have a low enough willpower score that the fear scroll should work wonders in just clearing the area. And I might even follow it up with a teleport and heal wounds, just in case. We're able to be a little bit more liberal with the use of our potions, considering the fact that we always have Gozag in the future here. Especially if we ever get to a stage in the late game where we can truly afford to just throw out potion petitions left and right. Definitely should work out for us. Let's be a wee bit careful here, shall we? Still not out of it yet. Speaking of potion petition, maybe we should just throw one of those. Let's be a little bit safer here. Now that I've distracted myself even slightly from the game, I've put ourselves into a bit of a risky situation. Javelins coming hard and fast for sure. But I'm going to keep doing this slow little retreat, drawing the enemies towards us and away from the stairs. Hopefully far enough away that we can make it there in one piece. Fortunately, the sea serpent should be able to block a couple javelin shots for us, and there we go, out of the bad situation, which we in no way should have found ourselves in. I'm always more than happy to put ourselves into those horrifying issues. Let's slow it down, shall we? Reset a bit, take a deep breath, maybe stretch, take a drink, since I've been, as always, forgetting this exists. Here we go. I should also say thank you so much to Bodegard and Asterisk for the follows there. Very much appreciated.